can be mortal.
We are indeed. Welcome back, Mere Mortal Lights. It is the 12th of October. It is a warm day here in Brisbane. You've got the two Mere Mortals here. I've got one on this side.
And Karen here on the other side.
And we're going to be talking about the gods, the new gods, the AI gods, ladies and gentlemen. This was a topic that got brought in by a listener, Cole. Thank you very much for suggesting it.
Yep.
Cole has done some topics on this as well. I was listening to it yesterday, kind of like recapping some of the stuff that was discussed in his particular one. So
Yeah, so to call it out in particular,
160...
the podcast is called America Plus.
And the episode was 167?
I should still have it in my saved here. 167. Spirit GPT.
Spirit GPT. So
And that was about 3 months ago.
I have a couple of notes, and that's probably roughly around the time that Cole noted, hey, it'd be cool if you guys talked about this particular concept. So I guess we'll riff on it. Again, deep conversation with a lighthearted touch. There's probably going to be some lightheartedness to it. I wasn't entirely certain what this actually meant right at the beginning. Why? I had seen like zero news on this. When Cole was talking about it around 3 months ago, now he's based in the US, he was kind of pulling up lots of news articles and conversations. And I was like, I have barely heard this at all, apart from maybe a little comment here and there.
Sure.
So in terms of how much we know this, I guess personally in a day-to-day life, at least I wasn't particularly fully aware of it. Maybe you'd heard it in different contexts.
No, not particularly either.
But I was like, okay, I want to try and get a little summary. What the hell's going on? Why do people think this potentially? And again, being, AI as a new god. And here we're not talking about the just ChatGPT. Obviously, it could be Spirit GPT, but we're talking any variation of an automated tool, automated agent.
That's a subtopic of conversation I wanted to bring up. So yeah.
So the trend, so this is like the summary that I could find, what the trend is. People are treating AI less like a tool and more like an authority. So I guess that's kind of the from what I could see, it's not that they're like in the full belief that they got, apart from the 0.01% that kind of are, but it's more that people are treating it like an authority and not a tool, I guess is what the main trend was. And they're granting it quasi-divine traits. So a little bit of omniscience, as in it knows everything. Omnipresent, so it's always on in your pocket, sure. Omnipotence, yeah, it can do things for you. I guess not everything. And increasingly the moral arbitration. So it filters the policies or allowed versus disallowed. So maybe around that, there was a couple of other notes around the similarities to like the priesthood and the temples and whatever else. But I think that was probably the core thing of just being treated less like a tool and more like authority, right? So of being AI, being a new god or a new spirituality. Let's talk about it personally. To you, do you feel like that applies?
I wish.
At all?
No.
In the way that you use it, you've seen people use it or anything else?
I have yet to ask it a single question related to spirituality.
And what do you mean by spirituality in that context?
Questions of the deeper universe. What's the meaning of life? Why are we here? What are you? Do you have? Maybe I've asked it if it's conscious, just for a laugh.
Sure.
And you get either like a yes or no answer. Really, no. I think it's been the response that I've gotten.
Okay. Yep.
So it's even been telling me no, I'm not.
No, I'm not conscious.
And this is coming at it, fresh. I don't have an extended model with memory. When I use it, in particular Venice, which is just access to things like Llama and DeepSeek and a couple of variations, which I switch around in. I just get very kind of like the generic out of the box answer, I guess is the way to say it. So I'm not getting the one that knows me. I'm not getting one that's had a long history with me or has any additional inputs other than just whatever the standard default setting is. I don't even know how to describe these things. Yeah.
Okay. One of the notes I took is kind of like confidence is not conscious. I guess that's one of the things is like don't get confused when something like a model, even like a person, right? If they can be confident and correct for a lot of information, doesn't necessarily imbue that particular thing is conscious in any way. So like that's one thing. But for people treating AI as a god or an entity or a deity, I think even with the amount of users, like I guess I use AI as a tool myself. So again, we're going personal, I guess here. I still don't see it as an authority in that I've experienced enough times where I've been able to spot issues or difficulties, or it's still hallucinating in some particular ways where I will, the probability of most of the things I'm getting in return, I can see that, yeah, it's probably correct. However, I'm still questioning it for the most part, especially when it's really, really important. Where I think there's a distinction between, what I assume most people would think of a God in that, all-knowing, all-seeing, has all the answers. I'm going to just try to trust it as an authority 100%. There's like that. I haven't seen that occur on my personal life. I haven't heard anyone in my sphere that talks that way. Do you think if it moved to a point where, the AI is basically answering or giving suggestions or giving information it's almost basically never wrong. It's like, it's just always right for whatever it's giving. Is there a sway that it goes, okay, yeah, at that point you could probably almost treat it like a god, because it's kind of like someone going to whatever, going to church, reading the Bible and thinking like, yep, here's all the truth. Here's all the information that I need to know. It's kind of like same.
Yeah. I mean, God's a loaded term, isn't it?
What kind of means by there's only one God. So if you're listening to this, it's your God. But all the other gods don't exist.
I was just about to say, for me to say, yep, this thing is God or godlike, and I should respect it or treat it as such, maybe not respect it, treat it as such, it would need to display the qualities that in my head are what gods can do. I materialize things out of nowhere. Definitively, I'm trying to think of what gods do in various contexts. They typically descend from heaven, or they, if they're Zeus, they can transform into a bird or a thing and, interact as that. Very tricky. Look, I don't know that much about religions and gods in terms of diving deep into it, and I wasn't raised in that context, so I'm definitely hedging answers here in terms of that. What I'm more interested in is actually the people already starting to treat it as, and their behavior, motivations, why they think it is, and even the history of it. So Cole he used a video by Taylor Lorenz called ChatGPT is Becoming a Religion, also published 3 months ago. Really long one, 43 minutes, 42 minutes long, something like that. And she really laid out a kind of, not only why videos and stuff of people doing it now, but also the historical context of people treating technology as a new god or a religion type thing. Which I thought was really fascinating. That was probably the most interesting piece of the whole thing, was that this isn't new. People have been doing this for ages.
Yeah, correct. Yep. That was I don't know, what's the term of it before this, all of the AI is techno something. It was techno, not a technophile. It was a techno god or something to that event where it's it was you'd imagine the engineering software people who are atheist at heart, but have an ultra belief in technology and the improvement of innovation and humanity, like that.
So there's that type, but then there's also ones who just the very basic, any advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, for example. So if you take a drone and fly it over people in the Sentinel Islands, they're going to think that's God. So it's also dependent on where you're from and your historical, not historical, your current surroundings and what is capable. What is
context matters.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So for say, if these were simply videos of people in isolated parts of Africa or Latin America, or hell, even someone in really, really rural parts of the United States or Australia or something, yeah, sure, I could understand why if you just gave them this thing which gave them all the answers and talked to them as if they were a friend.
They're like, God, this is magic, God, something that's beyond my understanding, that whatever. Yep.
Then there's the versions where it's more like the Scientologists, where they've got the fucking e-meter cans and maybe that was technological breakthrough at the time of electricity, being able to measure like, you know, pulses, your skin electromagnet activity that your skin produces that is electromagnetic, which is maybe what those do. I'm not
entirely certain.
Either. I think there's something in that where it's like just normal variations of the body produce like results on these things. But the whole Scientology is in a kind of black box of lies and secrecy. And so those sorts of people who are just jumping in, those are more the ones where I'm like, they're already really looking for a savior or a religion of some sort. The technology piece is just the modern version of it. You know, they, for whatever reason, they're not attached to the current versions of, or the old ones of Christianity or Islam or wherever, Buddhism. And so they've just found a new one, and that's exciting. That's what they're into. So yeah, that was really interesting, him showing that. The also other thing that really got out to me, so, and a question for you, they showed a bunch of videos, and it's people, typically TikTok type ones. And a lot of it's really selfish and egotistical as well. I've awakened my chat GPT, like I've unlocked it. And this is, well, I'll ask your opinion on this, which is, of these types of videos, which are getting spread, and this is the whole reason we're talking about this stuff, how many of these are people who genuinely believe? How many, or percentages-wise, how many of them are people who, so genuine believers, grifters, so this is people who are like, if I talk about this, I can make money off of it. And then the other one that I had for this was, going to my notes here, how many of those who are just like LARPing, as in this is fun to pretend that I've awakened my chat GPT, and they're not actually making money of it. Like their motivation is more to have fun or to make or to ridicule people. Who
I reckon I would say
percentage wise, where do you think?
I reckon 50% grifters. Like I'm gonna say the big half is grifters.
Okay.
25% is people just LARPing, enjoying it, mucking around with it, kind of partaking in it because maybe extra views and something else, and then the other 25% are like true believers, maybe past atheists, or scrambling for something in relation to answers and going, actually, this is as close or as good as I need it to be to be a religion of mine. I'd probably say something else. I reckon there's a lot more grifters that maybe people like would think in that space for sure.
Sure, yeah, and that you can have overlaps between as well. You can have someone who genuinely believes and they're producing really clickbaity.
Well, this one was an interesting one. Who was it? I think Chris Williamson was trying to define like what a grifter was. And it was, maybe I heard it somewhere else as well. And it was saying like, or at least they were trying to define it as like a grifter, someone who's trying, they're selling something that they don't believe or that they wouldn't buy themselves. So, under that, I kind of take it as like, a grifter is just someone who's like doing it and talking about it. Okay, they don't actually believe it in its full. They're just like, they're there for leveraging the system that's at play to try and benefit themselves without a real belief. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a grifter. They'd be a believer trying to also like push it. So I think the true believers, a quarter. People just mucking around, another quarter. And then 50%, I reckon it's just like a big pile of grifters just trying to score a buck. So again, I was talking to, no, this doesn't apply directly to AI as a god, but just because, me and you have been using these tools for a while now, and I would not say that we are advanced users, not even close, right? But I know of people, right, my wife's mum, who bought a tool. She literally paid money for a tool. And I went over to her place just by chance. We just dropped by. And she kind of was really excited. She was like, showed me, I bought this tool. It gives me this, it's kind of like a course basically to help her understand through AI. And I looked at what the initial payment was for, and it was to provide access to ChatGPT, DALL-E, some other things, which are all the free versions of it, right? So this, I wouldn't say it's a grifter, but it could be like kind of in that, like, it was like this course that was advertising itself as giving you access to all these things, which are already in a free state. You can just get that.
Sure.
And then it was using those exact same tools to create the course, So again, all three things just, I guess, packaged up in with a cost. And then it then hit them with and by the way, but if you spend $140 a month, you get the higher level access to these models and, more studies and more courses, which again, it costs $20 for some of these ones. So I can see that sort of grifting, I guess, in the AI God space in the, again, I haven't fully delved into it to find it, but I'm sure it exists or through videos where people will be like, I've unlocked my GPT, pay me $5, $10, and I'll give you the prompts that unlock so you can use it as a god. For certain, there must be so many of that, and equally, there would be a lot of people who then buy into that, for sure, because then it, kind of like a religion, you read a book or you read the Bible says, John 3:16, blah, 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 you read that and you're like, that applies to my life, that's how I'm going to do it. Similarly, someone who might be unknowing of how the process is working with AI, you go, holy shit, I just asked it about this thing in my life and it told me and it gave me reasoning and what, fuck it, there's a God, I'm going to listen to it. I can see why people would buy that through, from a grifter's perspective, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I really struggled to try and figure out the motivations of a lot of these things. I'm inclined to generally think that the LARPing side of things, of just doing it for fun, is relatively little, because it's just but there I guess there is, how do you distinguish, or the best actor is the one who fully immerses themselves in the role, right? That's when the best results are produced. So when and I think you see a lot of this on type of Louis Theroux type documentaries, where he'll go in, he'll start with just the sub tier of, here's someone a relative of someone who's in a really cult thing or who believes something really far out, and you kind of go down the steps of him talking with people who are like, oh, okay, they're just a really outside member of the Ku Klux Klan, or they heard it, they saw it, they maybe pay a Jew, but a Jew is in a fee, not a Jewish person, and they will have a membership, but they don't go to any meetings. They certainly don't put on the hoods or anything. And then there's another person who is just one step further along, and some of them you can see they don't generally believe it, but they're like, it's fun, I enjoy the community. Yeah, the white hat thing's silly and whatnot, but whatever. It's just part of it. And then the more they do it, the more then they're
step by step towards the.
And you can kind of see the progress into finally becoming a full-fledged Ku Klux Klan member or whatever. Maybe this is a dated example because I don't know how strong the Klan is nowadays, but it's certainly got a bad rep, so probably not.
Probably not too strong.
But this is nothing new, and honestly, do you see any differences between this variation of people diving into a new belief system, something that is on the fringes, probably not true, maybe AI is God, but probably not, versus a one without the technology aspects, such as veganism, for example? You can go deep down the rabbit hole of veganism. Or is there anything about the technology aspect that makes it more viral, more interesting than any other,
I think,
cultish or religion type behavior?
Yeah, maybe the fact that it's an emerging thing, and something that's for most of us kind of come on really quickly, that makes it a little bit more exciting, maybe, and so then people want to gravitate towards it more. I was always thinking, because I was going to ask you, what would it take for you or me to be yep, AI is gone, to that? Because if I was to think of, again, religion, because both of us, I did grow up not religious, but in a religious environment,
sure, and
not wanted it absorb into my conscience. I went to Sunday school, even here in Australia.
Really?
I remember, man, zero got absorbed into my mind around religion, literally zero. But we were in a community at least that kind of got surrounded by that. And if I was to think now, what would it take me to become religious or to believe in a God? I would say this is probably a separate thing. I wouldn't even say I'm atheist anymore, but not really believing in any religion. So we can talk about that a bit later. But if I'm like, what would it take for me to be like, oh yeah, AI or whatever is God, is like this emergent being that is, again, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, all that sort of stuff. I think it would take being something so black box, something so beyond rational or understanding that it's like, okay, this is now doing things that nobody can understand, nobody's putting forward. I might as well go, okay, cool. That you can treat that as a God because who knows what the hell's going on here. Whereas I think right now, the distinction for someone who hasn't participated in the space versus what they have in AI is that if you really have never played around with the space or the technology and you just go, I go into Venice or I go into XAI or I go into like Grok or I go into ChatGPT and I ask something and it gives me the result and it's correct and it pulls it from somewhere and you don't know exactly how it's bringing it, it might as well be magic, aka it might as well be a God.
Sure.
If you're like, but you can teach yourself or you can do some learning and you can figure out, there's a very, 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 very simplistic explanation, but it's all probabilities. It's all probability. Okay, so there's some mathematics, there's probabilities to it. You can learn that, there are laws and commands and specific intents that all the different companies who create the AI, the actual, language protocol, put towards them. So that's why there's some slight differences to it. Okay, so there's some controls around that. And you can, the everyday individual, if you wanted to, you could kind of go and figure out that it's probability based, it uses some mathematics, and this is how it generates things. You go, okay, by seeing behind, the veil, you go, okay, this is no longer God, to me at least. I go, this is no longer God. It's like, I understand that I'm giving it information, it's creating all these probabilities. Yes, it's amazing the shit that it's doing, but it's amazing in an understood way. If it was like the example I was going to say, so I'll ask you, what would it take for AI to be a God for you or like a religion? It would be which I've seen, there's like a ChatGPT, OpenAI has one called Pulse. So Pulse is you open up in the morning and it's understood from yesterday's day what you've been asking, what you've been searching for. It'll also know by your mails and stuff like that. And it'll give you like for the next day, like, seems like your leg was sore. I've looked already and seen I could book you in for a doctor's appointment. You've got a meeting at midday, but you also wanted to go lunch with your wife. I've rescheduled it to go out. Something to that effect, right? So that sort of level. That's still not enough. It would for me, it would literally have to be, I go in one day and use one of these tools and it says, hey, watch out. I've checked the probabilities. You're probably going to get into a car crash, on the Tuesday because of this and this, and you're probably going to be really angry about this conversation with this human. Actually, I know that you've woken up this morning and you're feeling a little bit like this. You're going to feel like this in the afternoon. It's like going like
it predicts the future.
Yeah, and predicting the future. And again, even I can know, like I could rationalize myself and being like, it's again probability of future predictions, but to such a state of correctness that it might be wrong, 0.001% of the time.
Sure.
But for the most part, so correct that it might as well be predicting the future. I would go, all right, fine. Call it AI as a God, because at that point, there's very little differentiation to, other religions that I can imagine. If someone going like, you could compare it to, but when we die, we go to heaven. And again, how do you prove and disprove that to some degrees? If this thing predicted like, hey, 2 years from now, you'll do this and this person that you'll probably meet and you'll end up doing that, and going like, man, if I can't understand how it's doing that, and I can see people going, yep, cool, I get it.
Yeah, okay. For me, the quick and easy answer is a really serious head trauma. Just like really knocks me out. I'm fucked up. And the reason for that, so I'm not trying to insult people here. There's a joke to get me to my point. It would need to satisfy the three qualities. So probably, if I've had a really serious head trauma, I'm going to be in the hospital for a while. I'm going to not be able to exercise. I'm not going to be able to, let's just say, like, fucks my vision, or I have no access to, like, library books or things like that. And all I really have access to is ChatGPT, whether on the phone or laptop, or maybe even, you know, a speaking version, for example. Let's say I damages my vision, and so all I can do is, like, speak to it, and it gives me, and I've got a speech to text, just a speech version that replies back to me. So it would need to satisfy the omnipresent, and that would be more just a complete change in my lifestyle, because I don't use it that much. It's once a day for 2 minutes. And so that would need to change. The so what was it? Omnipresent?
Omnipresent,
Omniscient.
Omniscient.
So it knows everything.
Yep.
That one,
Omnipotent, which is it can do all the actions for you.
or like omnipowerful or something. Yeah. So it knowing everything, it would need to know everything. So it would need to know everything about me. I guess, can that ever happen? You know, there's things I've never told other people, or there's certainly things I've forgotten, which other people know about me. It would need to have that access to all of that. So certainly it would just need to be ingesting all data everywhere at every time. And this is where I also don't understand why people think it's God already, if it's, you know, if it can't, like, tell me what's going to happen with my body the next day, you know, or if I've got a rash or something, what's this rash? What's this?
But the people who actually believe in, you know, in a God or in a religion, like say a Christian or an Islamist or whatever, do they really believe that they're gonna, like, that the God is gonna know what they're gonna do tomorrow?
Yeah. Look,
like, I guess they don't. Like, I guess in this context, and maybe we're both missing it. What does a God generally do to a Christian or an Islam or something like that, right?
Yeah,
it's like, it's the beliefs, it's values, it's like their alignment in life, the choices that they make for a potential outcome that they reach. So, like, if AI can do all that technically, but it's both guarded by whatever developers and companies guardrails have been set, because again, Venice has less guardrails than an open AI, right? But again, there's guardrails in there somewhere to steer you or to put you in a particular path, so that you can, like, generate those things, like the values and the choices and whatnot. Similarly, who I could imagine a Christian would speak to a God or go to church and be like, I shouldn't sin, I shouldn't do this bad thing, you know, that's immoral in my particular religion. I'm sure you yourself could build that out in an AI to help you with that. If the AI literally, like, you know, if you were just in whatever way, voice, text, whatever, if you just were walking around and it said to you, like, no, Karen, do not do that, that is immoral based on your values and these things, I can start to see why people would be like, okay, might as well be a God, because it's kind of giving me, like, telling me what the values and what things I should be doing and my choices and shit like that.
A lot of religion is about subservience. It's the subservience to a higher being. And
true, yep.
You can frame that in a really positive way, as in you're, you know, becoming more humble. It's having, you know, perhaps effects on, like, your ego. There's a certain, I mean, you know, look at, you know, we know sadism, masochism's a thing. So there's obviously a lot of masochists out there. There's obviously, therefore, joy or pleasure in being subservient. So once again, not claiming everyone who believes in a religion is a masochist, but that's a logical conclusion you can draw and say, okay, there's benefits to being subservient to a higher power. And for a lot of people, that works wonderfully for them, psychologically speaking, and has really great effects in their life. So I could understand why you would enjoy that, both in enjoy it in the good sense of, like, it's helping you out, it's making suggestions that can improve your life, having really positive effects. You know, people, I'm assuming, wouldn't join religions if it was having negative effects on their lives, by and large.
Yeah.
So,
or at least they thought that. Yeah.
Yeah. I could also see the other side, which is, okay, let's say it's more the controlling type. It becomes more of like a big brother type god where, Big Brother
watching you and telling you and doing all these things.
1984, Big Brother was essentially a god. It could see into, Winston Smith's room. He really couldn't have secrets from it, even when he thought he'd squirrel this thing away in the very back of his mind that, I'll always have this and it'll never be able to break me. They knew about it and they broke him. I think it was room 101.
Yep.
They broke him in room 101 and it that was more of the vengeful god where it's like, okay, this god is all powerful, all controlling, and it's not out for your best interest. It's out for the best interests of itself / the system. So both of those two, if those two things came to pass where it was like undeniably making my life so much better in every single way that me trying to fight against its suggestions was making my life worse, then I could probably be on board and saying like, yep, all right, this thing's so powerful, making such a positive effect on my life that yes, it's a god. And then the opposite version where it's like, it's so powerful, I can't do anything against it, and anything I do against it makes my life worse.
Then you're like, yeah, this I've got to treat it as a god because
so those those two,
so and
that gets into like the powerful aspect of it as well. Like if it can control other people, another one would be, I guess, like if 30% of Australia started worshipping AI GPT, that would probably have a pretty strong impact on me. It's like, okay, even if I don't particularly understand it, there's obviously something very powerful going on here, which
it might just be like the power in numbers and being like, fuck, if everyone's doing it, like I'm fucking enough to like translate into that.
Yeah, I live in Australia, call myself Australian, but you could just go like, this is just a piece of land on Earth. There's no need to for me to identify myself with you and call myself Australian, but I do because we all do that for convenience sake. So, yeah. We having audio issues?
Not terrible audio issues, but Peter does call out that there is a horrific echo.
Oh no!
On the. It's a little bit. Thanks for the info, Peter. You sent through on the Discord as well. So sorry for the nasty echo, unfortunately, on the live feed.
Let me just turn down the volume on gain, so that might be what's doing it.
That's okay. I was going to go into the Boostagram Lounge anyways, just while we're looking at this. So again, we are live. We're live on the Sundays. I'm going to read out the Boostagram Lounge because we do have a boost coming through. So thank you very much, Peter. This is not directly any sats, but just for letting us know. A bit of a nasty echo on the live feed, so we'll see if we can fix that up.
Yeah, much appreciated.
I'll call out some of the boosts as well. I don't think I called the one out from Cole, which was on the... Nope, I wouldn't have, on the 5th of October. Cole sent us through I'm getting leaner along with Kyron. I'm experimenting with hot yoga too. My first session is on Monday. We'll see how it goes and how I feel. That was 1,111 sats. So using Fountain, and he did a follow-up message as well, letting us know that he enjoyed it and that it was very good. So all the best, Cole, on your journey of getting leaner. I would love to get leaner, but as I've said to a couple of people now, I have not lost any weight no matter what I do, but I also haven't been putting on any significant fat as of late either.
I'm leaner.
So Karen's leaner. How much weight have you dropped?
It's probably a solid kilo over the last couple of weeks.
Okay, good. Very good. I maintain plus or minus 100 grams of between 90.9 and 91 kilos. So thank you very much anyways, Cole, for that. And then we've got Peter, who also sent through a boost. And this was a real nice one. I wanted to read it fully, but I wanted to open up specifically for this session. He's had another wonderful episode filled with genuine talk. This is in relation to the podcast when we were talking about just our goals, monthly goals, annual goals, life. You both probably know that I don't practice goal setting myself, but watching you two reflect on life in an honest way is really weirdly comforting. So, weirdly comforting.
Yeah,
awesome.
Weirdly.
Also, Butter the Dog is the real star of the show. So,
of course he is.
Yes, of course. And that is Raw of Dark, 2,222 sats and using Fountain. So, Peter, much appreciated as well.
Thank you, Peter. Very much appreciated. It's so interesting that we can have very similar kind of mindsets. Yet he doesn't do any goal settings, or that's just not part of his kind of makeup. But at least in the tangible form of doing it. But he will. I would say, like, if you look at his actions and things like that, he would still do things which are reflective of someone who goal sets.
Who goes goal sets.
Maybe does it in his own head.
In his own way.
I'm kind of like a dog dad now, to be honest.
He's a dog dad.
If you look
dog
at
daddy.
If you look at my phone,
It's just photos of Butters.
it's pretty close to man. It dominates the feed now. It definitely dominates the feed. I'd say half of the photos in my phone. That's a bit too much. A third. He is not on my home screen though, or my lock screen. So
I would say
yet to make it there.
Okay, I would say 90% of my photos are my daughter.
Yeah,
like literally 90. And yes,
makes
my lock screen is
Yeah.
daughter and wife. So
Yeah. Well, that's fair enough. All right, I haven't gone too far down the road.
yeah, but then again, if a dog dad was doing that, maybe it'd be a bit extreme potential. I'd be like, okay, it's maybe a step too far.
What's
down
that?
If you had like your dog as your lock screen and 90% of your photos were dogs, I'd be like,
Okay.
I don't know.
I feel like there's
Some people out there like that.
yeah. I don't. I'm not sure I'd call
probably
it.
who believe AI is a fucking god. So the other one I was actually going to state around this was maybe the other way that, again, not God. Oh yes, the chucks. Not exactly the God concept, but something slightly different is that AI right now, kind of as I was stating before, again, it's a technology that it's understood, and obviously the closer you are to the building of the technology, you probably understand it more. But even they themselves, the individuals, the people who are working in these companies building it, they do go like, there is something about it that is emergent in that. So if to understand it, I'll see how good I can translate this. I was thinking about this earlier. If you want to look under the hood of AIs in large language models in general, they are basically big old matrices, huge matrices, where every word is usually broken down into some form of token. They leverage multi-dimensions, and we're not talking 3, 4, 5 dimensions. We're talking like 1,000, 12,000 dimensions, where every token tries to get a little bit closer to the sentiment of what the rest of the sentence is. So it gives everything a bit of a sentiment, but all the different models use different types of weights, types of origination tokens of words that are coming in, different ways that like permutations of running it through making it more similar or more sentimental to each other. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, you get all this big load of probability of what's the next word, what's the next word, what's the next word, what's the next word. Is that exactly how the models work now? Not exactly, because there's been things of the chain of reasoning and like recursive replays of how it runs. So I'm sure the actual architecture is slightly different to that particular thing. But for the most part, me telling you, I kind of feel like I understand it at a very, very, very like initial scratching the surface level. And I've seen the equation and go, it kind of makes sense. But what would happen is, and I'm sure maybe this will happen, where the AI, generalizing it here, starts helping itself out and creating, a better approach or different ways, or it starts just recursive learning and getting better and better and better to the point that no human knows what the hell's going on. Like to a point that it's built an architecture or it's built up some processes and it's doing something that is so black box that you might look at it, you might even look at the system or the nodes and whatnot and go, we have no clue. Like we have no clue what inputs is coming in, what weights it's using. We have no clue how it's generating these things. And all of a sudden, it's not like, so again, if you were to get an AI and you went, can you convert this into a Word document? There are some steps in the process that needs to be chained into, okay, do this, create a text, go and connect with this particular software, go and generate these things, right? You can kind of understand it. But if it was just going utterly beyond that to doing whatever it is that you're asking it to do without any understanding from anybody, they were just like, hey, here's how you access it. We have no clue. Then, not so much like a god, but I could imagine because of the lack of like reasoning or logic in it, that people could say going like, oh, no, that's an authority. Because nobody can tell you that it's not an authority, right? Because it's just all of a sudden just going, not wild, but just doing things that nobody understands. That gives me like a similarity to a god in that, the way I'm thinking the Christian God here of, creates the world and, the 7 days and blah, 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 and the stories around it, and it generates all these things in humanity. If this AI is just generating ideas or helping you out with things that just you can't even like map back. No, it's not even probability anymore. It's just doing it through whatever. Let's just say it's like quantum mechanics and doing every single potential universe of possibility. And yes, maybe it's probability, but it's doing something fucking else in there to give you the result. And you have no clue. I could see then at that point you'd be like, I might as well treat this as a god, because like I can no longer say that this doesn't have the authority. Like it's just gone beyond understanding of what it is.
Yeah, I can see the logic of why, something's too complex that therefore it's a higher being or a spirituality aspect to it. Me personally, I'm more inclined to the kind of evolution type of thing where it's just there is some sort of force, the evolutionary force driving things forward. You can break if you break every single step down small enough, you could explain every single step. But when they come to be so far along and complex, i.e. the eye, that this used to be the thing. Evolution could never design an eye. It's too complex. There's no way that could come about. Yet you can kind of, over the years, with enough research and fossil records and things like that, they're eventually able to show, okay, this is somewhat of the way that it could have happened. Here's a thing without an eye, here's a thing with an eye, here's a bunch of like bridging steps that got you there. And so like we've already seen this where I think it was saying that this was before ChatGPT. I remember hearing something about this where it was, or maybe it was just after it got released. It's being able to detect cancer patients or patients who have cancer faster than doctors can or more early. But when they ask it specifically how, it couldn't just spit out an answer and say, here are the 5 or 10 interacting molecules found in like blood. Blood level is this, blood sugar was at this level, trace amounts of XYZ in their blood. All of these things go together to indicate, okay, this is probably an early warning sign of cancer. Yeah. But I feel like it was just because it couldn't explain just how complex all these things were. It doesn't mean that there wasn't a kind of a logic or a base behind that. So just because something is so incredibly complex doesn't necessarily mean that it's godlike. Also look at Magnus Carlsen. He does moves which he himself can't explain, but that's because he's done so much work that it's kind of things in behind the scenes which are working, where it's like pattern recognition and whatnot, that move over there is a bad move. I don't know why it's a bad move, but I just know it's a bad move. And then if you play out the full sequence, you go, oh, okay, yeah, that was a bad move. But it takes like 5 fucking hours.
Yeah, like the realization of it comes later as opposed to whatever's going on in the background, kind of like give the vibe, the feeling. It's like, yeah, that's built up on the knowledge and wisdom, whatever, from however much times that he's practiced, understands.
But there's people out there who you can see they default of something is so complex, therefore it's a higher power or a higher being or something. Whereas my default is, okay, something's really complex, I just don't understand it well enough, or takes just so much time to understand that I don't default into.
Here's my final statement on this. And
let me do one more thing before
okay.
before that, which is I also don't understand why they just pick in GPT. So AI GPT was a lot of these things, and people in these videos were going, "I've unlocked GPT." They were particularly talking about GPT. How have they not played around with any of the other models? Can you have a god which is multi-faced in a way, in that it gives different answers to different people? Because they're all going to be using, as soon as you've started giving it some memory and you've had a conversation with it, it's going to start saying different things back to you versus someone else who's using it. And then let's just say I did this with my brother the other day because we're trying to figure out how long you can stay in a sauna for before it kind of like gets dangerous, or when people die and things like this. And we use the exact same input. I can even read it out to you. And we're using different models. He was using it with GPT, and I was just using one of the basic Venice options. So the question was, it was just up here somewhere. In a 70-degree sauna, how long would it take an average person to die in it? And what's some instances of someone getting trapped in one and dying, i.e. how long did it take? Because we were obviously talking about how long we could stay in the sauna at the gym. Yeah. And it wasn't completely different, but it was certainly different enough where I went, okay, well, your answer is different enough than mine that I'm like, this isn't even the same thing.
Which again goes back to which was Israel authority, right?
Yeah, so I just go, I feel you also need to be locked into something. If you're really going like ChatGPT is a god, it's undeniable or it's super clear. Having them try out, but I guess this is okay. Here's a prediction. Will we have various types of AI religions popping up? So say people are like in the ChatGPT
we will for sure.
religion.
Yep.
Will
100%.
we have we're going to have a llama one?
I mean, you already see it. You already see it. You see it in the Grok. Anyone who uses Grok or plays around with X, whenever you see posts about this and in relation to it, it's like it's a war between Grok and anything else. And it's like, oh my god, Grok's amazing. Yeah. Okay. You see it like it's like a nearing religion levels like fight of like, get the hell out of here. Look how much better this is, and like it does this so much better. So you could see that it would eventually become very much like this versus that. Yeah.
So the Apple, for example, had a quasi-religious fan base, and you could even see it in the green versus blue tech sort of thing in America, especially. Not really a thing in most of the rest of the world. But I feel like it didn't descend to the ultimate level of whether it's a religion or not when violence comes into play. Like, your ideas are so ridiculous, you're so blasphemous, I need to hurt you or something, like, or violence just erupts, which you always see in the Heaven's Gate cults. I'd call that a religion, and then they.
I think it could get there. I think it could get there eventually with enough separation.
And I guess like then it would just be. Usually it's geographically constrained as well. The West had Christianity, the East had Buddhism, the Middle East had Islam, things like that. Christianity was also around there as well. So it would probably, it could just turn out to be like, all right, America, GPT, religion versus the Chinese DeepSeek religion. And yes, there's like the country level government type thing about it as well, but it's also AI controlled, or AI becomes the government. I don't know.
All that as well. Well,
final thoughts.
The final thought, but it wasn't so much a final thought. It was going to be like the final thought around this is, if you had to point blank though ask me, being like, what's going to be more? What do you think one's the probability of like there being the Christian God or a Islamic God or a type of Buddha or something else? I would actually say, if I had to put my money on it, I think AI will be the God.
Okay.
Versus all the other ones. So you might be like, what the hell? We've just been talking about like, but AI is not a God and whatnot. But I'll attach it with simulation theory, in that if, let's just fast forward 15 years, let's just hope not good years amount. They, like very recently, a couple of months ago, Google kind of released this thing where you could create an almost living world where you go in and sort of a first person view and you can walk around and the world self-generates based on where you are and what sort of prompts you put, and you can walk through a world that has like, you can paint the wall, turn around, come back, and it's sort of the same painting that you're going to do. Okay.
This is more AR, right?
Yeah. So that's like not even
It's
AI.
not a metaverse.
It's not even metaverse. Yeah, I guess so. Like it's using some of its AI bits and bobs to create all this.
Okay.
So it's like fast forward 15 years, and it's partially AI. Here I'm talking more like the technology that's encompassing all of this, because we say AI, and I think most often people think text, but it's multimodal now, right? It's videos, it's photos, it's text, and I know Anthropic's. I'm pretty sure it's Anthropic's Claude 1, where one of the latest examples was it can create a website. And again, when you think about a website or something that you're utilizing it, it's like, imagine like a Replit. You're typing a prompt, it creates all the code, cool, and you deploy it and you use it. This one's slightly different, where it's like, it's not even doing any of that. It's just when you click the button, it will just generate on the fly what it needs to based on all the coding and whatnot on the algorithms. And then you just get something, and then, I need to do it just recreates it all as well. So you don't even have to have preemptively built it. It's just doing it as it goes. And I think Peter Diamandis was recently kind of saying like it would all become it'll be on-demand pixels. Like it'll just be on-demand everything, because it'll just generate it on demand at the point that you click it, and at such a speed that it might as well just be happening like at the same time. But 15 years in the future, if we start all that technology, imagine starts creating, might as well be completely real worlds where you're just running whatever, like an Earth, and you like imagine again Sims, but just like full blown Earth, and you just like full simulation where they're just running, doing their world and whatnot. If we hit that point, I could get behind the simulation theory of like, well, okay, if we've built something that's doing that now, and this system that's interacting might as well be real, then I would hazard a guess that is not too different than from ourselves being in a simulator world created by some sort of technology, AI and whatnot. And at that point I'd go, then that might as well be a bona fide God in that particular sense. So not the God in the GPT that we're using, or the Venice, in that there is some fundamental data layer in the universe that we exist in that might have become from a simulation. Because if we've built one, then what's the probability that that's already happened and that's what we're in today? So, when I guess it's a stretch to say like AI is a God. I guess I'd be like, not the AI or the technology that we're seeing, but the technology that we might create. It's not too much of a stretch to go, that might well be the simulation that we all as well pertain to, and that being, okay, cool, well then that's the God in this particular system. It's whatever the hell has built this simulation that we live in. I can get behind that.
Okay, man. Damn.
I can get behind that.
My mind's blown. For me, I think I don't expect it to become let's say a full-on religion like Buddhism, for example. Hundreds of millions of adherents. Mm-hmm. I think to get to that level, it would need to be more integrated than we see presently. Just texting it or chatting to it via phone, don't think is enough. Feel like it would need to really be attached to, a glasses sort of thing where it's got the microphones here, you can read at the same time, and it's just always on you, and you're always interacting with it. And even that, maybe not enough, and it needs to be like the brain interface of you've actually got a chip in your head, which allows you to access things so that you're not having to use a physical device. I've been tempted to go to just a AI meetup in Brisbane.
They do them?
I'm sure there are. That
would be cool to go to.
The various types of what they are, because I'm sure there's some highly technical ones that have been going on for ages. I'm sure there's...
I will throw... I'm sure we don't have anyone listening to this that's in relation to this, but I'll throw it out there. Honestly, if you are in Brisbane and you are building a company around AI, I've often thought I'd be ready to invest in companies like real small startups that are doing it in the Australia base. I'd get myself along on that for sure. So if anyone is listening to this, that would be like the most niche of probabilities that you are. But if you are, reach out to us. I would be interested in that conversation.
All right. There's why Australia based in particular? Why Australia?
Oh, well, just because I think I'd like it to be local enough that I can talk to those particular individuals.
Sure. Well, yeah, you probably need to go to the meetups as well then.
But that's why I was thinking about that. Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to go to some of them and see if there's any religious type experiences that people claim to have had or are exhibiting at these things. Now, I've done absolutely zero research. So what I'm imagining I'm going to find if I start looking into this is there'll be some like really hardcore tech ones for people who've been, in AI before it was cool. That would be kind of more hard to join because I imagine they just like filter out people and are like this is just a kind of like the Bitcoin groups, like the OG Bitcoin group here. There's one which just never really runs, and they've been like the ones in it for the longest. There's the kind of recent-ish, as in like 2020, and some of them have been in it for 5 to 10-ish years, and they're more welcoming, but it's still also kind of closed down. And then there's the complete like
super recent.
Everyone like, oh my god, this is like you type in crypto and that's the first thing that pops up, sort of deal. So I imagine there's variations of that as well.
In Brisbane. I would imagine. Cool. Yeah, look, again, if you've got any thoughts around that, I don't know if there's any comments that have come through on the tube.
I don't see any there. I'm just wondering if Peter was actually talking about the audio that I
like
do
the
live,
podcast audio,
which there is a possibility. I thought it was nice, but I'll bring that up and just have a little listen because that could be what he was talking about if things are sounding not so good.
Okay.
Said it ended 10 minutes ago, and
interestingly enough,
sounds pretty good here as well. Okay. So maybe it was your technology, Peter. Maybe AI's trying to block you from hearing the truth.
That's right. The gods, the gods above are slowing you down.
Yeah.
Yep. Look, AI is a god. Do I truly believe that AI is a god right now? No. Could I see it becoming? Yeah, I could see it if the certain circumstances happen. But again, that's like also me saying if fucking Zeus just walked down the clubs now and entered my house and was like, "Hey, I'm Zeus."
Yep, that'd be pretty convincing.
I'd be like, "Shit, I went too high on the mushrooms. Fuck this." That's what happens. The Immortalites. Again, if you've got a topic or an idea or a thought, send it through. If you want to support us, you can do so by the Boostagrams, Me Immortals, meImmortalspodcasts.com/support. If you want to help us out as well, we recently went over 15,000 hours watched, not even listened, just watched on the Me Immortals book reviews.
Wowza.
I think we went past that on the Me Immortals normal show as well a little while back. I saw as well something. What was it? It was something like, it was on the videos as well that we'd because we were posting more, which is just particularly clips, but it was like we hit new highs in terms of views that we hadn't done for like whatever in the whole time that we existed. So again, people are supporting out there by watching, again, commenting, sharing. I guess what we care more now for the moment again is interactions, helping us out from a community perspective, going into the Discord channel as well. I'll be getting out more interviews as well over the next couple of months, so that'll be good fun.
That'll be exciting.
Again, we continue on Me Immortalites. So again, if you've got a topic or an idea, let us know. But we might leave it there for everyone. So whoever tuned in live, again, Sunday 9 a.m. is our usual time to go live.
It is.
Here from Brizzy. So we'll leave it there. Me Immortalites, be well wherever you are in the world. Treat the AI kindly just in case it becomes God. Why not?
Current out.
Good.